Now for more on that CHILCOT report, let's go live to our correspondent Richard Bestick in London. Richard, tell us more about the aim of that report and what can we expect from it?
The parameters of this marathon inquiry were wide but very specific. Specifically, whether it was legal for Britain to go to war with the United States in Iraq without a UN mandate, whether the intelligence that the then UK Prime Minister Tony Blair depended on, both here in Britain, in Parliament, and in Washington, where he made his case for war, was actually misleading, whether it had been sexed up, was the phrase used here in Britain by officials. That will be the question. There will also be questions remaining about whether the British troops that were sent there were provided properly for in the way of equipment, and whether there was, in the aftermath of the invasion, sufficient planning to prepare for a new administration. What this inquiry is not is a court of law. So nobody will be found guilty or not guilty of anything, and that includes, of course, Tony Blair. But reputations are on the line, not just of Tony Blair, not just of senior members of his government at the time, but also members of the security services who provided that crucial information that was so important to the case put forward by Tony Blair for war. John CHILCOT, the chairman of the inquiry, says that his hope for this inquiry report is that whenever a decision is made in future about this terrible act of going to war for Britain, then it is done with full knowledge and with information in the public domain. In other words, what he hopes for it is that it raises the bar, what should have been a high bar already, but he says he wants it raised yet again before Britain ever returns to entering into a war like the invasion of Iraq.
Richard, it has been 7 years in waiting. It's nothing if not detailed. Will the report bring closure to the issue in Britain?
It is vast. You're absolutely right. It runs to 12 volumes. If you were to buy it in its hardback edition, it would cost you more than $1,000, it is longer than War and Peace and the Bible and the complete works of Shakespeare combined. So it is a vast document. Will it answer all the questions? Well, the parents of the 179 British soldiers who were killed in Iraq will be studying it very closely. If there is any evidence of a dereliction of duty by former Prime Minister Tony Blair, they say they will go to court. Clearly, no matter how many words, no matter how long it's taken, for some the issues will never go away. Those who lost children in that war, lost their young. For the country as a whole, for the UK as a nation, it will bring partial closure on what for many was seen as perhaps one of the most awful acts, the most despised acts of foreign policy in modern history.
Richard, for a lot of people, even though the war was a decade ago, the memory of it is not distant. Our Richard Bestick live for us in London. Richard, many thanks.